Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Movements Podcast. I am Matthew, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Hey man, lovely to see you. Excuse me. On today's episode, we are concluding our Disney series, in which, as you've seen by the channel content recently, we've been reviewing all the Walt Disney Animation Studios films, all 50, I want to say like 58 of them. I'm not sure if that's right, but
You've
I'm
nailed
right.
it. You've nailed
Oh,
it.
nailed it. There we are. All 58 of them. So today we're capping off the final three. And yeah, it's the end of an era on the channel for us. So I'm going to pass over to Callum to explain what three movies we're going to be discussing today. Off to you, buddy.
Well, I thought upon this, and I thought, am I sad that this is coming to an end? No, I'm very, very glad because, with all their fame, and their prestige, their clout, a lot of the Disney animated films trash. You know,
It's
I'd
true.
say 60% of them. We were talking about this off podcast. They exist in a space between trash and average, and about 40% of them are quite good to great.
Yeah.
It's the end of an era, but I feel no sense of satisfaction. As soon as I watched the final of these films, I wasn't like, oh wow, it's done.
Yeah.
It's we've done something, we've accomplished something, not a waste of time. I was hoping that clarity would come, and it simply didn't.
I didn't know. I know what you mean because I think at the end of this podcast we'll probably wrap up with our favorite film, our least favorite, our favorite songs or something. And then hopefully in the channel
Mm.
soon we'll do like a tier list of the Disney films and other film franchises which we reviewed. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like a lot of them are just simply overrated. There are some absolute classics in there. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing ones which are some of my favorite films, but there are some of them I'm not keen on whatsoever, especially the early ones or the there's like the awkward stage in the middle of like the
Mm.
70s to 80s. It was an awkward stage, I think. But yeah. What three movies are we talking about today then, Callum?
Well, just to finish what you were saying, really, like
Oh
I
yeah, of
think that the
course. Yeah.
massively popular ones are all good, and those are the ones that are talked about a lot. But the ones that aren't talked about are the trash ones. So I'll
Yeah.
admit that the ones that people watching this probably like, we do too.
Yeah,
I would
I
just
think
imagine
so.
the sort of gray zone where I'm sure a lot of casual viewers haven't even seen that's where they're really in the bin. It just so happens that that's unfortunately the
Yeah.
majority of the filmography.
Yeah, I think
But the
so.
three films that we'll be talking about today are Moana, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Frozen 2. Ralph Breaks the Internet. The title just upsets me.
It does, no, it absolutely does, because I went to write in my notes, Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, but apparently it's just called Ralph Breaks the Internet, which it's quite honestly, it's disgusting, to
I
be
mean,
honest.
the character has got wreck in his name. Why are you saying breaks? I'm
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
sorry.
that's a good point as
The
well. It
fuck
should
are you
be
doing?
Ralph Exeter. Yeah, and yeah. So two of these films are sequels today of ones that we covered in the previous couple episodes, and of course, Moana is the only sort of original concept here, I suppose, like the standalone film. So yeah, three very popular, well, at least two very popular ones, and one of them I don't know much about.
Oh
But
no,
yeah,
I'd say three popular films, but I would say for the both of us, there's one stinker, and there it
okay,
happens to be two different ones.
that's
We
interesting.
know each other's, but the
That's interesting.
the
Yeah,
viewer
yeah,
will be
we do.
surprised.
We
I
do.
imagine.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, just before we kick off today's episode, thanks so much to everyone who supported this series so far. I really do appreciate that. 15-part series is the biggest one we've done. Yeah, I think our second biggest one at that point was Pixar, which was 6 parts. So yeah, as always, this will be in our Disney playlist, which we reviewed. Yeah, as I was talking about every other Disney film, if you want to check them out. And yeah, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. We'd really appreciate that. And of course, time codes for the films and our email moviemeetspodcast@gmail.com is in the description. So I think the first film is it Moana? It is, isn't it?
It is Moana, yes.
Yeah. Well, you
And
kick us
my
off.
opening thought in this film was a great big fuck you. Not to you, but to the film, because the trailer for this film was the bane of my existence for several months. Because as I was
I
doing
know the
my media
story.
studies GCSE, we had to watch and analyze this trailer to no end, and I really felt like the one of those critics that Malcolm talks about in Malcolm and Marie, where I was just writing utter shite just for the sake of it. Got me a good mark, but it was
Hey,
utter shite.
worth it.
I mean that is probably true to the experience of most people. People who know that they are sitting in their GCSEs or their A levels. You just write what they want to hear, not what's
Yeah,
actually good.
million percent.
And watching that was just fucking dreadful, I'll be honest.
Well, that's it. You know, one thing about I had actually written that down in the notes to talk about your media studies experience with this film, and one thing at least with the trailer, I suppose, potentially could improve it or make it less of a bad experience is, but it's a very lovely trailer to look at. It's a very lovely film to look at. It's probably the best looking Disney film, I would say, out of the series. You know, just in terms of the water effects are absolutely
Mm.
incredible. But I suppose if you've seen the trailer that much, you kind of, you know, you've probably seen a lot of. I haven't seen the trailer myself, but I would imagine you've probably witnessed a lot of characters there that are introduced in this film or potential plot spoilers. So you know, you've probably analyzed it to no end. So I mean, I'm sure you know a
Yeah,
lot about this
it
movie going in.
reveals everything about the film.
That's always a pity with trailers. Like I'd never understand that trailers that ruin everything. It just ruins the point of a trailer, I think. But yeah, I mean, I do feel for you, you know, with having to watch, you know, a trailer of this film, albeit I think it's a good film. But I can acknowledge if you think it's not a good one, of course. But yeah, I mean, I do feel for you, mate. You must be nearly 100 times. You've probably watched that, I'm guessing.
I was it would near that, you know, but I rewatched it today for a bit of
Old times,
nostalgia. It's
yeah,
not as bad as I remember, and I did watch it, you know, after I'd seen the film, so I did know going in that, you know, I knew how the film played out, and it is just a play by play of the film, like the
yeah,
entire film. The one reveal that is saved is that, you know, the that Teika is actually Tefiti, and you know she's just been transformed into this fire monster. That
hmm
is the one reveal that is saved for the actual film.
yeah. I suppose that's the I mean, there's it's weird. It's not necessarily a spoiler heavy film, but I think you know having everything apart from that plot point be revealed, it's a silly idea, especially in a trailer sense. You know, you want to have a little bit of element of surprise in there, and for that to be absent is always a mistake, I suppose, isn't it? But I mean, yeah, man, if I'm happy to go by your notes and I'll chip in where I can.
Well, you know, at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to, of course, child Moana, and you know she makes constant attempt to escape her island because she has this, you know, yearning to adventure outside of her island. And I
Mhm.
suppose it could be argued that, you know, she had that it was the magic of the spirits that were compelling her to do this, or it could just be, you know, her you know childhood lack of gratitude, let's say. And I was just wondering, based on your interpretation of the film, do you think her actions were selfish in her escape attempts? Because I think at the point where, you know, she ventures out to find Maui and you know return the heart to Tefiti, you know, at that point it is a noble action, you know, where she's endangering herself. But before, I think it's just selfish.
That's fair. You know, that's 100% fair. I think the character that sort of has that I would have that view of in the film is Moana's dad. I just think he seems really, I don't know. I can understand his motives, of course, because of the history of the island and the people. But I don't know. I quite liked Moana's arc in the film. You know, there is points where I do find her a little bit frustrating, but that being said, I think she's a fantastic protagonist in the film, and I really enjoyed her arc. It was actually the strange, like yeah, the Maui character I didn't like as much as I thought I would. Like Dwayne
Mm,
Johnson is absolutely fantastic
despise him.
here, but yeah, he's a little bit like he's just a bit of a prick sometimes in the film. I guess I get that's the idea, but I don't know. Even
Yeah.
for Dwayne the Rock Johnson, I thought he was even a little bit unlikable. I never thought I'd say that about Dwayne Johnson.
Sorry, just about these. You know, even for Dwayne the Rock Johnson,
Yeah,
I don't know, I like that. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and it is a significant chunk of my notes just bagging Maui. You know,
Maui. Yeah,
he stole the heart and then failed to deliver it. You know, so even if he was successful, he's done a bad thing. You know, his actions that he wants to be thanked for, I think, don't outweigh how much he fucked up. You know, with the theft of the heart and, you know,
yeah,
absolutely bottling it.
yeah,
You know, he has this great musical number, you know, to introduce his character. But I think I just would have much preferred his character if he was in some sort of like Luke Skywalker type self exile because of the shame. And then, you know,
yeah,
this journey that
yeah,
he has with Moana is, you know, a journey of like moral recovery because he doesn't really have that. You know, he sort of backs himself, you know, with his motivation to the very end, and then he's just instantly forgiven by Tefiti. Like I would have liked some consequences. You know,
yeah, hundred
the
percent.
movie and Moana are both self-aware of the situation, and you know the films that we review where, you know, we talk about sort of morally corrupt characters, which I think we'll get to today. You know, usually the film is aware of that and other characters are, but I just don't think the movie in this scenario or other scenarios ever actually does enough to redeem the character because they've done something so bad uh,
Yeah,
that I just feel
yeah.
like it's not recoverable.
Yeah, I know what you mean, 100%. And I think that the Luke Skywalker style exile would have been actually a really great concept. I actually love what you're saying there, 100%. And I don't know, I think You're Welcome is a fantastic tune here as well. Like Dwayne Johnson
Like
smashes
so,
it, to be honest. And you know, I do like there is elements of that the Mario character I absolutely love, but I think as far as the as far as like the character arc goes, the character development, yeah, I think some consequences would have been needed just because you know, technically at the start, like I kind of thought he was the villain of the piece, certainly in terms of you know stealing the heart to
I
Phoebe
mean,
and
he
stuff like
is.
that. Yeah, yeah, I know, and yeah, I mean, I think I don't know with this film, everyone is very quick to say, you know, You're Welcome is like the main jam here. How Far I'll Go though is definitely my favorite. I think it's a far better song than You're Welcome. Both are like bangers. I don't know. I kind of felt like How Far I'll Go was top tier Disney songs. I think. What about yourself?
I mean, of course, I'm in no way musically talented, but I will shit on other music in this episode, so I may as well do it here. Uh, I think all the music is lifeless and
I love it.
lyrically
Fair enough.
banal. So, I really enjoyed Your Welcome, but everything else I
Yeah. Okay.
struggled.
I respect it.
Except for one notable difference, which is you know the song that you're referencing is that a Moana
Yeah,
ballad?
that's a Moana one. Yeah.
Okay, the one I didn't actually note down the name of the song, but I think a lot of the music just edges on tolerable. But the like Tamatoa the Crab, voiced by Jermaine
Oh
Clement,
yeah.
that ballad is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Jermaine Clement's always fantastic, isn't he? He's amazing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean he's performed such beauties as Goodbye Moon
Good
Men
bad.
and Rick and
Yeah,
Morty.
Rick and Morty. Yeah, I know. I know. And he's just got one of those voices where you can just tell it's Jermaine Clement, can't you? Like he's just got a fantastic voice.
Immediately.
Yeah, 100%.
And in an odd trend, any film involving water, the control of water, or voyages by water, I'm able to recognize their quality, but I just never enjoy them. This, Aquaman, anything set on a ship, enjoyment wise, in the bin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is.
Did it kind of feel for you like it did definitely rob elements of Little Mermaid? Like I thought Little Mermaid was. It kind of felt like they were trying to do a Little Mermaid style story, like a journey across the sea and stuff like that. Obviously, Moana doesn't have necessarily a romance there, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I don't know how I felt about it because I kind of feel like any character that you have that's so sort of you know centered around water and those kind of things, it kind of feels like it's just hard to beat the classics. It's hard to beat the original. Like Little Mermaid was the staple of that sort of archetype. What about yourself?
Yeah, I didn't really see any Little Mermaid sort of crossover, but I just don't know what it is. If it's really water heavy, I just find it so dumb. I just won't enjoy
Fair
it.
enough. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like sometimes it's a little bit much or something on the screen. I don't know for me, but yeah, it's like so many animated movies. I feel like water is just a central element. Like it's one film that springs to mind is like the Ice Age films, where of course you know, I think the third one is it where they like it's called Continental Drift, where they have to like sail across the ocean with a lot of animals and stuff. Like it kind of reminded me of that. Like eh, I don't know, like the water animation is fantastic, but it seems like you know it seems like one of those things where like if you need a scene to look good you just have a water scene in the film or something like that. Like it just feels like not necessarily a lazy excuse for a setting, but I don't know, it just feels like very cliche these days to have like a like an animated kids film with a sort of the oceanic theme. I don't know, but that
Yeah,
being said, it's done very well here though.
yeah, visually it's beautiful, but narratively, I think implies a journey, and I think usually those films are poor. That there are a few times when you get a good road trip film, and I think
Dude.
that's sometimes good. But it's the reason I can never get on board with Star Trek or anything, because it is just a voyage across space, which is the dullest, least interesting place you could voyage across. Anything involving that kind of thing, I'm just disinterested.
Yeah,
But one thing that did interest me about this film, that was noted, of course, in my media studies coursework,
of course.
was the Disney adversary in this film, Te is probably the most original and interesting looking Disney villain in probably years. Even if they are just like a next generation Heat Blast from Ben 10, you
Yeah.
know And I
Yeah,
genuinely didn't anticipate that was actually like Taifiti, with her heart removed. Like
yeah.
the rest of the film is pretty standard, Disney shenanigans, but that did actually manage to surprise me.
Yeah, I know the character looks absolutely fantastic. You're right that it's very a very like great visual quality. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic twist, and I think credit to Disney for depicting other cultures here, like that sort of like Polynesian, sort of Samoan, like Tonganese sort of culture there. And yeah, I think it's actually really interesting. Do you know what I mean? It's especially given that I think The Rock has Samoan heritage as well, so it would make sense why I'd be on board with this kind of film. And I mean, yeah, I think Moana is like a fantastic protagonist. I think she's absolutely incredible, like one of the best in years, I actually reckon. And it's one of those things where like another film we're going to be talking about today, Ralph Breaks Internet, it kind of introduces her as like a Disney princess, and I kind of want to ask your question that, like, do you think she is a princess? Because I kind of feel like she is in her own way. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really, a lot of this film is nondescript. They don't want to, commit to, putting it in a time or place. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose, plenty of islands are considered, territories in their own right, countries in their own right. So yeah, I think, the daughter of a tribal chief is, as legitimately a princess, as any of the other people,
yeah,
because
that's
I
a good
mean,
point.
any other person that's considered a Disney princess is often, the princess of a kingdom. It's not a country. So I
Yeah,
feel like, Moana, being that one step down from power, is as legitimately a
that's a
princess
good
than
point.
any other.
Yeah, no, I don't think concur me. I think that's a good analysis of it. Yeah, for sure.
And in possessing that, very nondescript time setting and location setting, I think that this film is like ripe for a Frozen crossover because
It's a really
we
good
see that
point.
Moana has, you know, at least a friendship, if not, control over the water. So I mean, if you sort of mix the two of them, water, frozen water,
Yeah, yeah, literally.
perfect.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kind of was thinking that as well. And I think the animation styles blend in really, really well together too. It would make for an absolutely beautiful film. And I actually think, yeah, the characters of Moana, Anna, and Elsa would really blend really nicely too. I'd like to see if the Little Mermaid, I'd like to see her, and I can't remember what's her name in that film.
Ariel.
Ariel, that's it. I'd like to see Ariel, Prince Eric in this environment. Bring back Christopher Daniel Barnes at all costs. Is what I'm saying. But yeah, I'd like to see them in this kind of environment too. But yeah, I mean, I think this film it's really surprised me. Honestly, I know maybe you're not the biggest fan of it because you've analyzed it so many times. But I don't know. I thought it was a really special film. I think, yeah, fantastic voice work as well.
Yeah, and if they did ever want to do a crossover in the future of any of the Disney princesses, at least they have the sort of animation cell from Wreck-It Ralph, sorry, from Ralph Breaks the Internet. So
Yeah,
they know what a modernized version of one from the
yeah.
40s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
Hmm.
would look like.
Hmm.
That they can now realize in modern days.
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think so.
Well, Matthew, is that everything you have on the film?
That's everything I have in the film, buddy. What would you give it out of 10?
Well, this is difficult for me because I think I recognize that the quality is very high. It is better than standard Disney fare. It is. And I think Moana, provides like a very uh positive role model, for young people. I think she's a very admirable protagonist, and I was just disappointed by the fact that Maui really doesn't convince me that he's worthy of redemption, and he just gets his fish hook handed back to him, with no repercussions. Yeah, like he wasn't even shameful or guilt. He didn't even feel guilty. He kept saying that I did it for the people, and I'm like, you did it for the love of the people. It's not the same thing.
Yeah,
He
that's
wanted
true.
them to love him. He wanted
It's a good
credit.
point.
So it's not a character that I think was worthy of redemption. So I recognize quality is insanely high. Genuinely, it sounds so dumb, but the fact it's set on water, that does actually limit my enjoyment massively.
Fair enough.
Uh, they're starting construction on my road again. Fuck
Oh
these
no.
guys.
Hopefully I
Can you
can't
hear
hear it,
that
so hopefully the
loudly?
viewers can't hear it. I can't hear it on my
How can
microphone.
you like
It's not
fuck
hopefully it
these
doesn't come
guys?
through.
Honestly, like we're doing this on a Thursday, so like fair they have to work. but fuck this. Like, this is every day until like 6 p.m. Like,
Jesus
I can't be
Christ.
having this. I'm trying to, like, I don't go to university. All I have is podcasting. I'm trying to watch my
And
movies. I'm
it's
trying to watch
ruined
Riverdale.
by the
I'm trying to
remarks.
do the podcast.
Yeah.
You
But what you were saying though
Uh,
about the water, I think the setting of a film is very important. Like, it's so, as strange as it is, like if a film is like has a nice environment where like I can sort of see, you know, sort of places, and if I can sort of liken it to places that I've been or places like at home, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel a bit more at home with the film. Like, for example, like the old Wreck-It Ralph. This is going to sound such a stupid point, but it kind of relates. Like the first Wreck-It Ralph, where it was set in the arcade. Like, that's a kind of arcade that you and I would go to sometimes, where I kind of feel like I have a nice feeling with it. Like, it would remind me of when you and I went to the arcade when we still could and the world wasn't an apocalypse. But do you know what I mean? It's kind of silly things like that what makes me appreciate it. Whereas with water, like I just, well, I mean, I can't swim, that's is one thing, but also I just don't like really water in general, so it's kind of limits my enjoyment as well to an extent. So yeah, I think you're spot on.
so yeah, I would struggle. I think the quality for the standard of animation, for the standard of the story, you know, points off for Maui, but I'd give it probably 9 out of 10 for quality. Enjoyment was low. I'd give it a 5. So
Yeah,
overall, I'd give it a 7.
seven.
In my opinion, a generous 7.
That's fair. No, I think that's fair. I think for me, this film has incredible music, absolutely marvelous. It's marvelous to look at as well. Probably the best looking Disney film I've ever seen. It's not quite Coco level for me, but it's definitely up there. But yeah, I think Moana, fantastic lead, amazing voice work, and a really good twist at the end. So I'll have to give it a 9 out of 10. It's one of the better of the modern generation for sure. One
It's
film.
like
Oh, go ahead.
we constantly talk about how like Disney is overrated, and then every time you're like,
I was like,
I'm warming
bangers,
up to
9, 10.
warming up to a low number, a
Nine.
9 or a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna look back one day, well, maybe when we do the tier list, and think, God, I've overrated some films in the channel. But one film that I was not a huge fan of was Ralph Breaks the Internet, which we've talked
Mm.
about off podcast. Why is it called this? It's a silly title for a film. It's not even called Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's not even called Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Ralph Breaks the Internet. What were they thinking with that title? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with the title. I don't know what they were thinking with the film. I think we can
Yeah,
both agree Wreck-It Ralph was a very satisfactory ending.
very good
I felt
film.
very comfortable with where the characters were at. Ralph had proved himself, as this, he proved that he could be a hero worthy of admiration. And
Here they
then this
fucked him.
movie takes a giant shit on that.
They fucked him. Yeah, literally. I mean, not literally, hopefully, but yeah. I mean, God, this movie is just. If I was sort of say, an example of like a modern sort of kids animated film that's clearly a cash grab, which is clearly no original concepts or ideas, I would just point you to this film. I mean, the first thing I thought was, I was like, really, like, for an arcade character, you're really going straight to the internet plot. Like, weren't there any more good arcade ideas? Like the whole turbo twist in the first film, I absolutely love that. And here they're just like, yeah, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Google, Amazon. Like, it's so like, how would I say, like, it's so like 2010s. Like, it's so classic, sort of that pixels bullshit of like sort of animated, like, trying to be cool, like, for kids, like with memes and stuff. It's just bollocks. I really didn't like that at all. I get so
Yeah,
cross with this.
because of the arcade stuff, and the existence of nostalgia, that stuff's never going to date because it's always going to be
Yeah,
popular. But I think the existence of the internet, being the crux of this film, dates it immediately.
it
You know,
does. It
I
absolutely
think
does.
nostalgia is timeless, but no one's thinking, for like 40 years down the line, nobody's going to be like, seeing the Facebook logo and shedding a tear for their for for
God,
for their childhood.
yeah,
Like,
dude.
there's nothing special or memorable about apps.
And the fact that it makes Ralph so much worse of a character as well, like, I really, it's one of those films
Yeah.
like I kind of regret watching, because I kind of would like if it just ended with the first film, but here they just take a giant shit on his character development in the first
Yeah.
one. It's awful.
Because
Oh my
the point of the
God.
whole film is that he could be a hero, and here he is objectively the villain. I was thinking earlier, I think that this film is a bit weird that it doesn't have a villain, and then I had the realization it is Ralph. Ralph is,
Yeah.
Ralph creates every problem within this film,
Mhm.
and there's nothing that rectifies that. Like we were talking about with Moana. I just think that this character is, fundamentally flawed and, selfish, and there's no redemption to that. He's just forgiven, despite
Yes.
no growth of character.
Yeah, 100%. For a film called Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph does very little wrecking of any, apart from the relationships that he has in the film, apart from the metaphorical wrecking, he doesn't do, there's no like, it's just, it feels like a totally different film from the first. Like, I don't know if maybe it has different creators in the project, but it just feels like they didn't know what to do with the arcade characters, which had built up so well. So they're like, yeah, we'll bin off Fix-It Felix, with Calhoun, we'll bin off, all those cool characters who we spent so much time with in the first film. Then they'll introduce, albeit like there is some good guys in here. I think like there's some really fun scenes, with Gal Gadot's character Shank and stuff like that. But apart from that, it just feels like such a generic film that is just going to age so badly. Like give it another year, and I think this film will be borderline sort of like unwatchable for me. It's just I really don't like it at all. It's a good film quality wise, but it's just I don't know. I don't know. It just wasn't for me whatsoever, mate.
Yeah, and really, the whole point of this film is, the popularity of the internet, will overtake old technology. But I think that message is, deeply flawed. I just think it's inaccurate. I
Yeah.
think that nostalgia beats advancement. When it comes to popularity. And I don't think the internet, will ever make arcades obsolete. I think people will always want to revisit that. Because somehow, we'll go to an arcade, or we'll play retro games console and feel a sense of nostalgia or appreciation for an era we weren't even born to live in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
feel like that can't possibly go away in the future if we're able to feel that. And I
Yeah.
think the assertion of this film is just inaccurate.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're right. And it's one of those things where I think that's actually such a really smart point you've just raised, I can actually, because like you're kind of saying, I don't think the effects of the internet could ever make me enjoy an arcade less. Like an arcade is like walking into a bit of time, it's like walking into a different decade. And I mean, yeah, that's why I love the first film so much, because it was original. It had that arcade sort of sense with all those sort of cool, funky characters. But then here it just, and then but like it's weird because I actually do find some enjoyment in the scenes where like it goes through the Disney princesses and stuff, which we'll talk about later. But it just felt so lazy. It just felt like it's one of those things where I think anyone who has a brain cell could just come up with this idea. It's just I don't know. It's not often I just get generally like disappointed with a film or something, but like I was generally like gobsmacked. I was heartbroken with when they destroyed Ralph. Like I actually really liked him in the first film, and here he's just borderline insufferable.
Yeah, like this was the first film that I watched on Disney Plus, and like because it was sort of the only recent Disney film that I cared about that I hadn't actually been able to see in the cinema. I saw Wreck-It Ralph for the first time on a ferry in like 2013 or something.
Yeah.
Recently after it came out. So I was quite amped for this film. I had high expectations,
Likewise, yeah.
and then I was watching. I was like, fuck is this? Like
Yeah,
it
I
was
know. Yeah.
dreadful.
No,
Like it was a lot
definitely.
better the second time around. Even though I paid less attention to it, but it was watchable certainly, but
Certainly
it
watchable,
was more
yeah.
just upsetting.
It does. No, yeah, I think you're right, buddy. I think you're spot on.
And sort of a point that I sort of noted at the beginning of the film, because of course the events sort of I'm genuinely upset. That's why I'm struggling to get this out. Because this film did genuinely disappoint me. But
Agreed.
the sort of main conceit of the film is that Sugar Rush is broken because of the track that Ralph created. Steering Vanellope off course. It leads to the destruction of the machine. But what I really thought was, what is even the point of Sugar Rush if Vanellope wins every time? Because of course she has her glitch powers, and she says she calls the game both incredibly predictable, but also that she doesn't know what's going to happen every time. Clearly you do. You have powers. People choose you every time.
Yeah.
This is sort of the sentiment that the Shank character puts forward, but she never actually mentions it. She never says that to Vanellope or in reference to Vanellope. She's just making that general point. So I'm even disappointed that the film didn't actually link those two things.
Yeah.
Sort of Vanellope's disillusionment with the game, and then Shank's sort of modern sensibilities of things needing to be difficult to be fun. Why would anyone even in the real world in an arcade, why would you ever want to play a game that's that easy?
That's so true. And it makes all the other characters who you could possibly choose from really obsolete. Like I'd liken it if you had in a video game on Xbox or PlayStation or something, if you had like a really OP character, like it's like would guarantee you the win. Obviously you'd pick that, but it just ruins the enjoyment of the game. It really it definitely does. And I do get that. I do get that in the film what I was trying to say there. But you know, the character you mentioned the character of Shank there. I kind of thought that whole sort of subplot with with Shank and like her crew in that game. I forget the name of it, but
Slaughter Race.
Slaughter Race, that's it. And I kind of felt like that was just going to be a little quick gag where they get the car and get out of there, but it's actually very integral to the film. So I was kind of like taken aback. I suppose Gal Gadot, like she's very one of the most popular actresses in the world. Like I get she's going to have a big role in the film, but I didn't expect like how big a role actually, especially by the end.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in this film is surprising, but sometimes not for good reasons.
That's a good point.
I think that was a good storyline, and I did appreciate it. But everything to do with Ralph being a terrible friend, I thought that was going to be minimal. But
Yeah.
then they just keep hammering it in of him being dreadful, and
Yeah.
then in the end, he still doesn't save the day. But before in the first Wreck-It Ralph, he created a mess and he solved it. But here he created a mess, and it's the power of friendship or something. If I'm honest, didn't pay attention whatsoever. I didn't even look at it. For the last 20 minutes of the film, I was so out by that point.
It just lacks the charm
I've
of the
seen it before.
first. It just lacks the charm of the first. Like the one bit in the first film that always strikes out to me is when like Ralph destroys Vanellope's car. Like that's a very emotional moment, and this film definitely does have emotional moments. Like one scene I will credit it is when Ralph reads the comments section of his meme videos, which like I think that's a very like I think that's a very emotional scene as well when like people are calling them ugly and stuff. Like it's not a pleasant scene to watch because like you do deep down like you do like the character, but I think
Nah, I find it kind of funny. He was a massive prick at that point.
yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say as well, because I think if they made the character more likable in this film, that would have made that scene more impactful. I think for me, kind of because he was such a prick for most of the film, it kind of lessened it for me. And like it's not even like John C. Reilly's voice work either. It's like I think he does a very good job. It's just the actual. It's just the actual script for the character. It's just the way they just took the character down was a real mistake for me. Like I just think he comes across as entirely unlikable, which is so strange because I love him in the first film.
Yeah, to give one positive to the film, I think that the world building of travel within the internet is very, very admirable. I think how they have realized it into a three-dimensional space, I think is definitely respectable. But I do think that the whole concept of the film is a little too meta. We need to make money for eBay, so let's go to this video sharing website where we make a viral video. It was a little full of itself.
Yeah.
The world building kind of reminded me, of Inside Out, which really copied the Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which of course we talked about in that review.
Of course.
With the train of thought. So this was sort of I think a bit similar to that.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
The way that it was used, I would be critical of.
Did it feel to you, mate, when like obviously they go into the Disney world, did it feel like it was a bit self-congratulatory for you? Because I actually thought it was quite
100%.
It did feel that way to me, but part of me actually really enjoyed it. I don't know why. I like especially the Disney princesses. I really enjoyed that, but it did come off as very self-congratulatory, didn't it?
Yeah, it was really nice to see them realized in modern animation, and I think it's probably the funniest part of the film, but it did reek of like, look how awesome a studio we are, look how iconic,
Yeah. They even diss
character we can make.
They even diss Pixar.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's from the other studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Vanellope enters and she goes, oh, Disney, how lame is that? But then, she's entirely won over by the company. So, it is sort of them saying like, give us time and you'll love us. You'll love us. So yeah, it did sort of reek of, desperate self-congratulation.
Yeah. It kind of got me thinking, with all the Disney princesses in one room there, who's your favorite?
Oh, I think it's Rapunzel.
That's a good shout. That's a
no comments needed.
I think for me it's Pocahontas, 100%.
I don't know why.
She's a delight.
Fair enough, on her character maybe, but I also still don't understand how you can enjoy that movie.
I love it. I love it so much.
I think it's dreadful.
We'll get into our favorite Disney films at the end of the episode, but yeah, I mean Rapunzel's a good shout. Rapunzel's a good shout. Um, yeah,
We've talked about the universe of the internet that they've created here, but I think that by introducing like a world of endless opportunities and solutions to scenarios, they have a problem here, they go to eBay, they find the solution, they pay for it, the situation is fixed. There's not a lot of thought needed. That they only know
yeah,
this because they heard a child say it, and then they
yeah,
enter the internet, fix the problem, leave, it's done. And I feel like just having these opportunities and solutions, which they, are able to succeed in using here. I just feel like they've entirely ruled out a sequel because I think, any
yeah.
base level problem could easily be solved.
Yeah, I think so. I think the only way I could see a potential sequel is if like the arcade shuts down or something like that. That's maybe the only way. But then, and again, there's a lot of easy ways they could just all go into the internet and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
I think it kind of ruins it. Like it's kind of like a, they've kind of opened Pandora's box here in the sense that there's so many ideas that it could just go down within. Like, sorry, there's so many solutions that could just be, procured by the internet. It's sort of like they, you know the lottery ticket, so to speak. Like they could just solve any problem they have in a future film with that source. So it's yeah, I think it's quite a silly move to have something so encompassing like that. To be honest with you, mate.
And we've talked about, Ralph's viral videos, and I thought it was an admirable idea of him. This whole film is him trying to save Vanellope, from losing her game. At least that's what he thinks his motivation is, but really it's the selfishness of wanting to keep his friend around.
Yeah,
And that's not inherently a bad thing. Of course you want to have your best friend around, but
yeah,
it's the way he
definitely.
goes about it that's very easy to criticize. But one of his viral videos, uh, it has a watermark of a bad film for me, uh, and that's of course, well, it's
Is it the
not
Bob
the mark
Ross
of a bad
painting?
film. Hmm?
Is it the Bob Ross painting thing or
It's not
what?
the Bob Ross painting, Matthew. It's the flossing.
Oh
Not necessarily a sign
yeah.
of a bad film, but certainly the sign of a pandering
God
film that
damn it.
wants to be like, love us, kids, love us. See, we,
Yeah.
we can do
We,
we can do we can
we
do
do
the
Fortnite.
Fortnite dances and the
Yeah.
TikTok trends.
Yeah.
Come on, you love us. I don't even know how
Good
they
work.
managed to get that in because these take years to animate, and I wouldn't have imagined that the flossing became popular until I don't know, like 2017, and this film was released in 2018, I think.
Yeah, it's where I think that's one scene where like Avengers Endgame in certain scenes like that won't age well. Sorry, won't age well. And there's a lot of things like I think he does like a
Was
chili
there
challenge.
flossing in Avengers Endgame?
There was like Fortnite, wasn't there, or something? There was like they're playing Fortnite or
Oh
something,
yeah,
weren't
they,
they?
they had Fortnite, and then Hulk dabbed. Like that film's gonna make me sick
Bruce,
in a few
you
years.
have no idea how much I wanted him to like that line to just be actually like Bruce or something instead of what's he
Yeah,
actually
like
saying?
the one joke that I found funny in that film, and then it turns out that I'm like misunderstood what it was. Like so that just made me hate it so much more.
Bruce. But yeah, he does like he does like a ghost chili challenge. He does Bob Ross paintings. Like there are certain scenes that are quite funny, but I do know what you mean, mate. Like certain scenes won't age well there.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they must have animated them last to be like what's popular at the moment that we're
Yeah,
releasing this. So I mean,
yeah,
it makes sense, but it felt pandering. I mean, of
yeah,
course, these films aren't made for us. We should be able to appreciate them still. But this film, I don't appreciate it.
yeah,
But what one moment that I did actually enjoy, because of course I have previously been critical of the music within these films, because a lot of it, and we'll talk about it in Frozen 2, is just people explaining their feelings. But here, it's something a little different. I thought finally we have a reprieve from you know from hearing Disney music, because sometimes the musicals just are just upsetting. Like I think there's usually one banger in there. If there's a musical Disney film, there'll be one banger, and sometimes with an example like Hunchback of Notre Dame, everyone's a banger. But here, there's just one song, and it's fantastic. And I think I only really enjoyed it
it is
because it's a
good.
piss take of all the other songs.
It is good. No, it absolutely is. And like I think that's where this movie it does have some merit to. Like there is some good quality humor in there. It's just marred by all the stupid internet stuff. Like there is some fantastic ideas here. It's just I think I just think they made a mistake with the internet stuff. I really do. I really do. Like I can't
Yeah,
hammer it home enough.
the ideas are very well realized. I think,
I
especially
agreed, hundred
creating
percent.
creating this world around them. But yeah, the narrative was just upsetting because you want to like Ralph,
You do.
but this
You
film
absolutely
tries
do.
so hard to make sure that you don't.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And I was so upset with the character of Ralph that I did disengage entirely from the last 10 minutes of the sort
Yeah.
of
So did
virus
I.
altercation in the third act because
Yeah.
he's done this horrendous thing, and then he's just acting like a scared little baby, and he's like, okay, now I'll do the admirable thing and like talk it down or something. I don't even know how it ended because I don't remember.
I
I
don't
finished
blame you.
watching it maybe 3 hours ago. I just don't remember. They really just didn't know how to end this film, and I think the
They
whole
didn't at
movie
all.
contradicts the message of the first film because this film proves that Ralph is a bad guy. He's selfish and was essentially trying to make everyone in Slaughter Race homeless. And I just think his apology isn't good enough.
Yeah, that's. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. To be honest with you, I don't know whether that, like, I could not be the message of the film that, like, yeah, by the way, Ralph's a bad guy all along. Like, 100%, that was not intentional, but that's how it came across. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just I guess it's meant to be like, oh, he did a bad thing, but it was for the right reasons, and then he apologized, so it's all good. It's like it's not all good. Like
Yeah,
he's done something horrendous. And, I was very surprised that Shank was able to immediately forgive him and tell him that he was welcome in their game
I'm
anytime.
amazed at that as
Like
well.
he
Yeah,
like tried to destroy their home and succeeded for a hot second. So
yeah.
bin him off.
The way they tried to sweep that
Everyone
on,
in this film deserves better than him.
yeah, the way they tried to sweep that under the rug was like, yeah, by the way, we've just recoded the game, everything is fine. I was like, come on, like that is just ridiculous. As well as that, what kind of character arc is like, yeah, by the way, Ralph's a good guy, he does something bad, but for the right reasons, then he apologizes. Oh, it's okay, we're back to where we started. Like, what kind of character arc is that? I was like,
Yeah,
that's so bad. Like, I'm not saying I could
like
do any better, but I'm just honestly like that is, it's just not a good
what was
sequel
the,
at
what's
all.
the ending of the whole thing that he like just gave a really weak, insincere apology and then the virus just went away because he was no longer insecure? Is
Yeah,
that
that
actually
is
how it
that
ended?
is what happened there, Callum. That is what happened
What
there.
the fuck?
Yeah. They just didn't know how to end it. I think they didn't know how to end it.
You
That
know,
ends my notes on the film. Anything from you?
Well, I'm glad that they ended the film where they did. If I have to, compliment them on one thing, this film is so long as well.
It
It's
is,
it's
isn't
an
it?
hour and 56 minutes,
God.
18 minutes of credits. I jumped for joy. I was fucking elated. But I do
uh,
have to appreciate where they decided to end the film. I respect that they didn't reunite Ralph and
yeah,
Vanellope,
I agree.
and
I
they
agree.
didn't have her reconsider her decision because I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think so. Like, I think I would have even hated the film more if they were reunited and there was no repercussions, really. But no, I
I
think
think
it
so.
definitely closes the door for a third one. I think it does. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Or if it did, if I the this I think is only the second of three Disney Walt Disney Animation Studio sequels. We had The Rescuers Down Under, we have Ralph Breaks the Internet, and we have Frozen 2. No others like come to mind that were like
Yeah,
by this studio. There were sequels, direct to DVD for Tarzan, Aladdin,
Lion
Hunchback of
King.
Notre Dame,
Yeah,
Lion King, etc. But released by this studio. This is two of three, and
yeah.
really this was the one that they decided to make a sequel for.
God,
So
I
I can't
know.
imagine they would make a third one. But if they did, I think it would probably be worse than this one because
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
can't
That's what
get
worries
past
me.
what Ralph did.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I'm 100%, 100%.
Just like we're getting a Moana TV series on Disney Plus, I think in 2023,
Oh, okay.
and I think if like Maui's a big player there, I think I just won't get past what he did.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like it's like it seems like with all these modern Disney films, like there's always sort of there's always one thing that always draws them back. With the old ones, like there was always little things, but here it kind of seems like there's more bigger issues. Like obviously we've mentioned Record, or sorry, well, Ralph Breaks the Internet for a start, but yeah, even with Moana, I think the Maui character didn't hit the heights that I wanted him to be honest. It's a little bit disappointing, but yeah, that being said, like I kind of acknowledge that there is some enjoyment in Wreck-It Ralph too. I think it's it's well paced for the most part. It does feel long, but for the most part, like there's not really a dull moment. But I think they just missed the mark for me in terms of a sequel. You got any more points, mate?
Nothing else from me, so I'd like to hear your rating of it, Matthew.
Well, as you can probably tell by this review, I was quite disappointed with the film, just a little bit. I could definitely, as I said, I could acknowledge the musical piece in there. I could acknowledge Disney being kind of self-aware, if not a little bit self-congratulatory, but there is some funny moments there for sure. And I think for me, enjoyment will probably like a 6, and quality maybe a 4. So probably have to give it about a 5 out of 10 for me for this film. That's a low review by Matthew standards as well. So it is. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I think that there are bright spots there. Looking at it in comparison to Wreck-It Ralph, stinker.
Yeah,
Absolute stinker,
agreed.
because
Agreed.
Wreck-It Ralph is so fantastic. Even watching it back years after it came out, and having seen it as a child, looking back on it with cynical eyes, it was still fantastic.
Yeah.
And this film, maybe I just saw it too late. Maybe we're just too old, but stinker in comparison, definitely. There are bright spots to appreciate. Definitely, I agree with you. The Disney side of it is probably like, look at us, look how awesome we are. Tell us how awesome we are. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think that I'd probably go the opposite to you, and I'd say that my enjoyment is probably lower than the quality. I think that quality wise, the movie did what it succeeded in doing what it tried to do, but what it tried to do, I think, defeated the point of the original. So I would
Okay.
recognize that. I think there's of course the animation to be in consideration, the world building, the quality of it being a sequel, and then the fact of achieving the point they were trying to get across. It's just the point is fundamentally flawed.
I think that's
So
fair.
quality wise, I'd probably give it a 7. Enjoyment wise, I don't think I really felt the runtime despite it being significant. And I still enjoyed seeing the Disney princesses realized in modern animation. So that was a nice thing to see. But Vanellope, I already find her slightly grating, and then in this film, she's even more grating. And I find they took Ralph, made him a sort of this underdog hero, a Rocky Balboa, a misunderstood good guy, and then just as we said, took a shit on him, and just made him morally reprehensible. So
Yeah.
I think that my enjoyment is just in the pits. I really
In
really
the
did not
bend.
enjoy it. I think it's gotten worse. After having talked to you about it, I think
Oh no.
as I was watching it, I was like, the stinker of this slate, if any, is Moana. But then, yeah, talking about this, enjoyment is in the pits. I'd give it a 5 for enjoyment. So I'd give it again, I think a generous 6.5.
Fair enough. I think that's a smart analysis of it, to be honest, buddy. I do think it is. And I suppose the final film in this 15-part series that we'll be reviewing, the final one, I can't believe I'm saying this, we finally got there, is Frozen 2, the sequel to what is arguably the most popular animated film of all time. So I don't have a lot of notes for this one, but
Hmm.
it's surprising because it's the last one we'll be reviewing. But yeah, I'll let you open the floor, mate.
Well, just to recognize, our sort of rating of previous films, I think before we have been too generous, in sort of like pandering to the fact that they're popular,
Yeah,
and I think sometimes, recently we've been taking our enjoyment, into it a lot more than the quality and popularity. But I think in previous times we have talked about stinkers and giving them fairly admirable scores. So where we're giving Ralph Breaks the Internet 6.5. If we give another Disney film that's objectively worse a higher score, it was probably just because our rating systems changed.
yeah.
But I think what we gave it was fair. But with Frozen 2, from what I gather from what you've said and sort of the demeanor that you've had, I imagine stinker.
I wouldn't say stinker, but it was certainly a bit of a struggle to watch. I actually think it's a very good film. Like I did enjoy it. It's just one of those films where like it took a while to watch. Do you know what I mean? I think I get films like that these days where my concentration is just not there. But it's not the best Disney film, obviously, but it's certainly a serviceable film. I quite liked it. What about yourself?
I think it's rare that I watch a film in one sitting these days, and that this film also did not manage to grasp my attention for that long.
Mhm.
I think I really enjoyed it. I think it's superior to the original, at least when it comes to narrative. I'd heard some negative things about this film, but I really appreciated it.
Yeah, I think it is better than the first one actually. Looking back, I do think it is better. I think it's refreshing, having Anna and Elsa not be like arguing or apart from the get-go. Do you know what I mean? It's we don't have to have that sort of the process of them falling out and those kind of things. Like obviously a part of that comes into it, but for the most part, they're pals, they're getting along, even though they are separate for portions of the film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and a large part of this film is sort of the desire to uncover the past. For me, in general, I do love origins or flashbacks and sequels.
Yeah.
Provided it plays into the plot of the film or simply enriches the character that they're about. And we talked about this when we talked about The Godfather Part Two, because I think that film feels in both measure on that, because they're trying to enrich a character who's already dead and was barely in the first film. So it's only a famous character because they were played by Marlon Brando, not because it was a good or significant character.
Mm-hmm.
And the flashbacks did nothing to add to that character. It was probably better to have that sense of mystique and mystery.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just me going off on The Godfather Part Two.
Fine.
Which I did actually prefer to the original, but like
Check out our Godfather
flashbacks,
podcast.
dog shit. But here, I think that this film is successful in doing both of those things.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It manages to balance that sort of the mystery of the past with the exciting nature of the future. And I think there's some characters here that the film doesn't know what to do with. I think Christoph especially, like, although like we'll get into his song and stuff later, but I think I just feel like it's such one of my favorite characters in these films, and it kind of felt like they didn't know what to do in terms of the main sort of Elsa with the five spirits of nature, those kind of things, and her mother and things like that. But it kind of felt like they didn't know what to do, so they just give him like he's struggling to find the words to communicate his love to Anna, which I think is sweet. That's consistent with his character, but I kind of felt like he was deserving of maybe a more important role in the film.
Yeah. Do you think that, because I think this will be the last that we see of Frozen. I think that this is it. The franchise is ending, which I'm kind of disappointed about, but it feels fairly conclusive.
It does.
Would you have preferred to see a different story for Kristoff and this be his storyline for a third outing? Because I feel like marriage is a big thing for them to just sort of gloss over. At least the development of their relationship.
Yeah, potentially. Like, I think there is room for a potential third one, but I do think you're right. I think this is the door sort of closed in the movies anyway. I don't know if there's a TV show in the works, but it kind of strikes me that might be the logical way to go for it. But no, I think you're right. I think in terms of the one thing I can appreciate about the Anna and Elsa relationship is that, like, they don't need, or Elsa specifically doesn't need like a romantic interest to sort of remain integral to the film. Like a lot of Disney princesses do need that. But I think the fact that she doesn't, and obviously the first film, it's about that message of true love can be in any form. But I think here, although maybe the message isn't as consistent, I think the fact that the relationship between Anna and Kristoff is kind of glossed over. I would have preferred it to see it more fleshed out in a third one. Actually, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so, because I feel like the character would have felt, because I definitely agree that Kristoff felt a bit aimless in this film. He has a direct goal, but the entire film is centered on that, and he doesn't get much screen time. No, so yeah, I think that is a logical step to take in a third film, but I would have just liked to see the interaction with him and Anna, because this entire film, she's very insecure about the relationship, and it feels very distant, and it does. It's kind of odd to even understand what the value in the relationship is, because we never get to see it. The first movie ends with them getting together, and here it's them getting married or engaged. Yeah. So I mean it is sort of a jump from A to B that you don't really see the journey.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, mate. It absolutely is.
And you mentioned previously, the five spirits of nature. And there's a lot of talk in this film, about the elements, and Elsa seems to represent, we found out that she's the bridge between all of them, but really, I mean, it's ice. Like, come on, it's water. Yeah. They say that she's the bridge between, humanity and nature. But then, surely she should have all of the powers. She should be like, Avatar: The Last Airbender or whatever. Yeah. Is that the point of that character? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
We'll go with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's an airbender, but I think he can like do everything. Can he? Isn't he like?
I think
he's
I think Neo? So.
Like doesn't he like? So. He's the only one who can bend air, but I think he can bend anything.
I think so.
I remember seeing that. I don't know.
I've seen that when it came out. About. Yeah,
I'm scared.
I think I've seen the Shyamalan film, if that's one you're referring to.
Oh, no! Don't say that.
Well,
I don't know. I'm referring to the animated show.
oh, right,
Like I have
okay,
seen the Shyamalan film, but like I don't want to risk comparing the two.
okay. But yeah, I mean, I think that I think in the first film we kind of talked about maybe Anna potentially being sidelined because Elsa's the one with abilities, and I think
Mm.
here. What do you think? Do you think the film does focus too much on Elsa? Because obviously, we see she's the one that kind of has to uncover the secrets behind her past. The relationship between the ancient sort of like Nordic people. I can't remember what they're called, but I think they're like an old tribe, so to speak, and those kind of things with their town. But what do you
Mhm.
kind of think with the Anna development as well? I think she was sidelined here as well because I kind of think she was potentially a little bit.
Well, I think Anna is actually given an admirable amount of stuff to do, and in the end, she is the one who saves Elsa. And I
That's
think
true.
that
Yeah.
was sort of, that's sort of the point of the film, I suppose. That even
Yeah.
though Elsa has the power, Anna's the one who's actually, the one saving her.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you was because I think that because one has powers, one doesn't. There's always going to be an imbalance there. But I don't know whether that's for good or for ill. Do you think there are differences? Because a lot of people, were sort of putting forward, and we commented on this in the episode where we talked about the first film. Do you think that did you want to see Anna get complementary powers to Elsa in this film? Because there's a lot of talk about the elements, and
Yeah,
really
there is.
Elsa has control over water, ice, etc. So it would have been maybe nice to see a balance there. But do you think their differences make their relationship more special?
I kind of, yeah, I do. Like looking back in the first episode, I kind of wanted Anna to have abilities, but here, as the film progressed with the five spirits of nature and Elsa being the center of that, I kind of felt like the power of Anna's character is her strength of character. But you know what I mean, like her sort of her
Hmm.
sensibility, her noble nature and stuff like that, and her loyalty. I kind of feel like that makes up for like Elsa's a little bit more sort of unsure about herself, a little bit more anxious, and that kind of comes through in her abilities as well. But I don't know, I kind of feel like they're a perfect like yin and yang of that relationship. Sort of Elsa is the strong one in the terms of she literally has powers, but Anna is the strong one like emotionally, so to speak. I kind of felt like that was where it was going. What about yourself, man?
Well, I'm a bit conflicted because they say the end realization is that Elsa is the fifth spirit. She's the bridge
Yeah,
between humanity and the spirit world. And then they say that her powers were a gift because that their mother saved their father.
yeah,
And she was gifted the powers because of that sort of selfless act. And then Elsa says she had two daughters where each one end of the bridge. But then there does just seem to be this imbalance there where I feel like
yeah.
that they're no longer equal. I do think that it is special that Anna has the more emotional resilience and strength of character that you mentioned. It,
Yeah,
but
I
I,
do
yeah,
feel like
I
these are
just feel like
Elsa's
I feel like
films.
there's something missing.
I do feel like these are definitely Elsa's films. Like the marketing would suggest that as well. Like she's always front and center. But and that's where I'm kind of coming into the sense of Anna being sidelined potentially with the lack of abilities potentially. Elsa's always the center of things, and I kind of feel bad for Anna. Obviously, she's given a lot to do, but yeah, especially in her emotional song about like there's a lot of lessons to be learned there, but like the grief because at that stage she thought Elsa was gone. I suppose you
Mm.
could say so. I mean, yeah, I do know why you're conflicted. Like I can sort of see that as well, looking back. Yeah.
Because Anna is the character I prefer, and then it just seems that a lot of her storylines so far are extensions of other characters.
Mhm.
Either she was foolish enough to believe that Hans loved her, and then
Yeah.
helps
Yeah.
essentially inadvertently helps him sort of orchestrate his plan, and then in this film she's just an extension of Elsa, helping her
Mhm.
get what she needs, and then helping Arendelle. But then I just feel like I wanted to see more of her getting what she wants or needs.
Yes. Yeah.
I just feel like she was done a bit of a disservice.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're right. And we've mentioned sort of the songs in the film. I think one song that I think rivals "Let It Go" is "Into the Unknown." Like
Mm.
the I think is it Kristen Bell who plays Elsa, isn't it?
She plays Anna. It's
Anna.
Idina Menzel who plays
Idina Menzel. Like
Elsa.
she does the singing as well, doesn't she, in these films?
Yeah,
Yeah, like she has such a
she's a big
powerful
Broadway
voice.
star.
Yeah, she's absolutely incredible, and I actually think Christoph's song I think is actually good, but do you think it's self-aware? Like it must be because it's kind of like Queen-esque, isn't it? A little bit.
I'll be honest, I don't know what song you're referencing.
Do you know the song where like he's with the what was
Ryder,
The
the guy
Sven,
from the
like
tribe.
the
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Like it's I don't know what it's called, but like it's a song where it's like he's surrounded by all these reindeers and stuff, and it's like it's Queen sort of Bohemian Rhapsody-esque. But yeah, I mean, I think
Oh yeah, no, I do remember when it happens. I'll listen to the song again when we're off the podcast. But
Mhm.
yeah, I do remember I was watching the subtitles and then just like pop ballad begins,
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
the parentheses, and
yeah.
yeah, I just don't remember anything about it though.
Yeah, I think the movie, like we've talked about Christoph, I think the character of Olaf as well. The film doesn't really know what to do with him. To be
Hmm.
honest, towards the end, I suppose, like you question his fate, I suppose. But I mean, I don't know. It feels like the film was like credit to it. Like it did give us like a good backstory in regards to what's the town called? Like Arden something.
Arundel.
Arundel. That's it. Yeah, I was close. But yeah, I think I don't know. Something was missing from this film. I thought though. I don't know. It just something was missing for me.
I think so as well. And you sort of seem to be positive on the songs here. I'd be less so. I think
Fair.
that when it comes to Disney songs, I'm never a fan of when they're just a confession of feelings, which is usually the like 80% and
Yeah.
of what's in these songs, and then there's one banger.
Yeah.
Which is why I really appreciate when a film maybe has three songs, because they're usually all pretty good because they've selected the best. But here some slip through the cracks that are just not for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. That's
The
fair.
vast majority of what's present here, I'm not a massive fan of.
That's
Other
fair.
than
Yeah.
Into the Unknown's chorus, I think is banger. But I didn't really find anything else lyrically or melodically pleasant. I'm
Oh yeah.
always hesitant to say that
No,
because I mean,
it's your opinion, buddy. I
a lot of the
respect that.
responses to
Of course, I
a lot of
respect
the
that.
responses to any criticism of something creative is normally, and could you do it better? No, 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 no. When it comes to music, if I'm honest, I'd be absolutely useless at that.
It
But
doesn't
if we're talking
it
about
doesn't
like
discredit
the
your
whole
opinion
films
though. I think
encompassed.
it shouldn't discredit your opinion. So I think you're fair in that analysis, mate. Don't worry about it. But yeah,
Well,
any more points from you?
you mentioned the character of Olaf, and I think what he does here is a bit aimless. He doesn't have a storyline as such, but he definitely gets
Yeah.
more screen time. He gets a bigger role.
Yeah.
And I find him a lot more tolerable than I would have anticipated. That's
Yeah.
probably the nicest thing I can say about him, because going into it, Josh Gad, I think has he has a um what's the way to say this? Uh,
Josh
he
Gad.
has a voice
He sounds
that
familiar.
is um what am I trying to say? I'll
Let me
just
see
move
who
on.
Josh Gad is first because he sounds very familiar. Josh Gad. Is he who I think he is? Is he that guy in Thanks for Sharing?
I haven't seen. Thanks for sharing. Is that the Mark Ruffalo sex addict film?
Yeah, it is him. It is him.
Yeah.
Josh Gad. Yeah, I know what you mean. He's got the way I
Um.
liken it to is like, do you know like songwriters who like we both watch The Sidemen, right? Do you know
Yeah.
Randolph? Do you know
Yeah.
Randolph's like music voice? I find it quite
Mm,
annoying in a way,
okay.
like that sort of like weird like what's the line in one of his diss tracks? You know what I mean? You're just a Walmart KSI. Like those kind of
Okay.
like high pitched. Josh Gad's voice isn't high pitched necessarily, but it's just one of those voices where it's like, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit frustrating, or what do you mean?
Well, more it's it's a voice that's tailored to whatever role he has. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Because what I really mean is, I think when you're a voice actor, it's integral that you have a certain kind of voice, and his, included with Sarah Silverman's,
Yeah.
who plays Penelope, that their voices, for whatever reason, that they're trying to play they're playing a intentionally likable character, but it seems like they're intentionally doing a grating voice. So I mean, on
Yeah.
surface level, Olaf's voice would be grating, but I think so whenever I was sort of looking at this film, on the outside, the just exterior of it, I assumed that I would not like that character because of the voice acting, but I was surprised that wasn't actually how I felt.
That's a fair. Yeah, I know what you mean. I get you
You can
now.
cut down the waffle in there.
No, I know what you mean. No, I know I wasn't waffle at all. I wasn't waffle at all. Like you know what you mean. I do know what you mean. It actually surprised me that it was Josh Gad voicing Olaf. Like it's I didn't I recognized the name, but I didn't really put a face to that name, so to speak. But
Hmm.
yeah. Any more? Any more remarks from you, Callum?
Well, to just further remark on Olaf, I really one of my favorite parts of the film was his retelling of the first film. But it was really, the character of Lieutenant Matthias's reaction that I thought made it really funny.
Yeah,
He's just
Lieutenant
like,
Matthias is a good
he's like,
character
oh
here.
damn.
Yeah, yeah, like I think he's a very welcome addition to this film. I think the voice actor who plays him, what's his name? It's not like
Sterling K. Brown.
Sterling something, yeah. Fantastic. Really, really, really solid stuff here. Like, and I think the film, I'm glad they don't have there's no real annoying characters here per se. Like every character serves a purpose. Maybe Olaf is the closest one to that, but I think every character. I'm glad they sort of cut down the troll element here as well. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the film it's more honed in than what it wants to be. But when it gets more honed in something like certain characters who aren't in that recipe for the plot, they get sidelined. So Kristoff and Olaf to an extent, I think.
Hmm. And to sort of circle back to the character of Matthias, like I don't think anyone was surprised that Arendelle were the aggressors in the past conflict.
Yeah.
But what was a big surprise for me was that Matthias wasn't actually the villain in the present. I don't know. There
Yeah.
was something. I think in these kind of films, sort of with the betrayal of Hans in the previous film, you just sort of have to question the intentions of any sort of exteriorly good person.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like because Arundel was responsible for like the conflicts in the past, did he kind of want it to fall? Like, did he kind of want it to be destroyed at the end or not?
Yeah, I thought they were going like Thor Ragnarok in
Yeah,
humans kind of way. That
yeah,
a kingdom is the people, not the place. And I thought that was the message they were going to go for. And whether I was a fan of that or not, I was convinced that they were going to commit to it at least. So
yeah.
I was sort of surprised that they didn't commit to it. And I feel like I probably would have had more admiration for it had they.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I do feel the same way. I thought that's what it was building to, and I think it did surprise me. That's a subversion of that, but yeah, and I kind of would appreciate the sort of the gravitas behind that, nonetheless.
And Olaf, I said, was a character I was surprised I wasn't annoyed by, but he's also not a character I particularly care about. But if, in all honesty, like I think his, death scene within the film was played very poignantly, and
Yeah,
it,
it's
it,
a
it did sort of
Infinity War
affect me
style.
mildly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is quite funny.
as
Yeah,
he's sort of just slowly fading away. Like I did have some level of emotion for
yeah.
that.
It reminded me of like, do you ever see the Michael Keaton Jack Frost film?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it reminds me of that when he's like starts to melt a little bit. And they got rid of the crowd over Olaf, didn't they, in this film? I'm trying to think if there's any scenes with them in it. No, they get rid of it, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I have
Weird.
no idea how he's managing to, not melt then.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought about that. Like, I'm trying to think of my mind if there's any scenes where they bring it back, but they don't. So yeah,
So, do you have anything further on the film, Matthew?
nothing for me. Callum, if you've got nothing else, I'd love to hear your rating, bud. For the last time, the last time.
The last time, the end
Emotional
of an era.
end of an era.
We one tier, for this whole situation.
Thank God
I'm
we're
glad.
done.
I'm
So
so
am I.
glad, Matthew.
So am I.
You know, I'm kind of pissed that we didn't get to see Make Mine music. So we're technically only 57 out of 58, but
When
it's through
people
no
ask,
fault of our own.
if people
We
ask, we've
we
watched all the
scoured
Disney
the
films.
internet.
If people ask, we've watched everyone. We'll just say that. We'll just say that.
I'll feel like a fraud, Matthew.
I know. It wouldn't be the first time I've lied about watching a film here on the channel. You know that. So I'll just tell people that I've watched all the Disney films nonetheless. But what would you give
Yeah,
Frozen?
it's just I am pissed that we have put in this many hours to a franchise that we just won't get to finish.
Over
We've
100.
come as
Over
close as
100.
yeah, we've come as close as a person can, but we've fallen at the last hurdle. But
Yeah.
I think I preferred this one to the first one because although it was like it was a sequel about the past, like it felt fresher than the original, and it felt more original than the first Love Conquers All message.
Yeah.
This felt like something a bit different. You
Yeah.
know, and aside from the weak music within the film, I think that this improves on everything from the first. And I really want to see a sequel. If I'm honest, I very rarely feel that way about a Disney animated film, but here I don't know that there's more to mine necessarily. I think that they very rarely make these sequels, and but this film, you know, this film made nearly $1.5 billion. Like,
And it's
come
crazy.
on,
I know.
it's not necessary. I don't think because the film ends with Elsa embracing her magical roots, and Anna becoming the Queen of Arendelle. So I do think this does provide a satisfying conclusion to all of the stories within the franchise. But come on,
I know,
like
yeah,
I
I
think
know.
it
It
would
would
be
be
a bit of
silly
fun.
not to. Like, surely it would make $1 billion at least. So you'd think, why not? Wouldn't you? And
Yeah,
it's not often why I would
like
encourage a cash grab, but in that case, it's too good. You know what I mean?
yeah, like from Disney's history, they are not about integrity. They're about money.
Yeah.
They're not about fresh ideas. They're about money. So take my money. I will happily see a third one. I was massively surprised. This is the franchise that has probably surprised me most, potentially in all of cinema. At least
Oh,
in
wow.
regards to for the better. Sometimes I expect to watch a franchise and be like, I go in thinking this will be great, and then it's not great. But here
Mhm.
I was like going in thinking it'd be terrible, and it's really good. So
Yeah.
so I was massively surprised. I think my enjoyment is probably a similar level from last episode. The quality's maybe slightly lower because I can admit its faults. I think that there are a few more glaring errors in this one than the first. But actually, I think my enjoyment was slightly higher than the first. So I'd give the film. I don't remember what I gave the first one, but I'm feeling an 8 on this.
Yeah, no, I'd have to concur. I'd have to agree. I think for me, that this film it's more refined. It's smarter in how it deals with most of the characters. But that being said, some of the characters do feel sidelined to an extent. I think for me, enjoyment has to be a strong like 7.5, maybe an 8, and then I think probably quality wise it is better than the first. I think you're right. So I'd have to. I think overall I'd probably give it an 8 for both. Actually, upon reflection, I think it's a very solid sequel as well. Certainly more than Wreck-It Ralph 2 was. But yeah, I mean, I think the first one and the second one, they're very surprising films, excellent music, excellent animation, and of course, a really empowering two female leads, which are very empowering. So yeah, fantastic. Really, really, really deserving of its popularity. I suppose, mate, as we conclude our Disney series, it leads me to ask you a few questions. I've got a few on my phone here, which
Okay.
are your favorite film, your least favorite film, favorite character, and then favorite song. So if you want to answer those, or if you want to think about it, I can share mine or whatever.
Okay. Are we pretty much disregarding the package films as movies?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, because I mean they're glorified like stitched together short films. Like
And they are,
they're
aren't
they're
they?
not really films.
Yeah.
So okay, my favorite film. I think it has to be The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna go for that one.
You
Yeah, it's,
know,
it's fantastic. It's so good.
and I think we should maybe do favorite hero song and favorite villain song because I think mine are probably
Okay.
two very different ones. You know, Let It Go is a banger. It's such a shock to me, but Let It Go is a banger. I assume we're talking about songs sung by the characters because really I think I think Immortals by Fall Out Boy for Big Hero 6 is probably one of my favorites, but sung by a hero. Oh man, Let It Go is a banger. I think I
Let
may
It
have
Go
to
is
choose
good.
Let It Go.
Oh my
You
god,
know,
that surprises me. But
we
yeah, that's
we
fantastic.
we may need to reassess when we do our tier list. I think my decision may change. But right now, as it stands, in the moment, it's Let It Go.
Let It
My
Go. Yeah,
favorite villain song is, again, it's difficult, but I think it's Hellfire by Frollo in
it's amazing.
The Hunchback of Notre
That's a
Dame.
really good shout.
Banger.
Fantastic.
What were the other questions?
Uh, favorite character and then favorite film you've said. Have you said your favorite film? I can't remember. Favorite
I
character
have
and favorite
I have
film.
to. My favorite is Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
My favorite character. Oh, I feel like the most morally the most positive moral character is probably Judy Hopps from Zootopia. I really
Yes.
gravitated towards that character. She was so
Yeah.
likable.
Mm-hmm.
I think she may be my favorite hero. Again, like I'm trying to diversify because all my answers would probably be from The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
even Quasimodo. He loved Esmeralda, but he took the hit that she didn't like him because he accepted her as a friend. He wasn't creepy about it like
He's
you would maybe expect.
he might be one of
Because
the
a lot of
best.
Disney
He might be one of the best.
a
I
lot of
think.
Disney characters are super creepy, especially when it comes to their romances. The Beast, of
Yeah.
course. So
Yeah.
Quasimodo's just a Dawn. He's a top
He's a
shagger. I
Don
hope.
John.
We haven't seen the second film yet. It'll probably be a while before we talk about that because it's Disney Toon, which
Yeah.
is probably a studio that we're not going to get to talking about for for quite a while because there's
Probably.
so much better stuff to talk about. You know, my least favorite film is Winnie the Pooh.
Oh wow, okay. No, I think that's a really good analysis there, mate. There's been some absolutely fantastic ones. I think for me, my favorite film is Pocahontas. It absolutely has to be. I absolutely love that
Does it
character so
have to
much.
be Matthew?
I know I can acknowledge there is issues with it, 100%, of course, but the historical accuracy is of course troubling. But I don't know. I think I just love the character of Pocahontas. I think she's very sweet. I'll try and use different movies for everything. Pocahontas would be my favorite character, but I think in terms of favorite films, I think Hercules was really surprising actually as well. I think it's
Oh
really
yeah.
underrated. It's fantastic, absolutely incredible. I think my favorite villain song, I think Hades has a good one in Hercules, doesn't he? I'm trying to
I think
think.
so, yeah.
Yeah, probably has to be. I think my favorite song. Can I use some of the? Can I was gonna say favorite song. Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas is good. How
Yeah.
Far I'll Go, Moana, and then just everyone in Tarzan, as well as like Just Can't Wait to Be King and Lion King is also great. But if I was gonna narrow it down to one, probably it would be Colors of the Wind. But I can't use the same film, so I'll go for Two Worlds, One Family from Tarzan, even though it's not sung by a character, it's Phil Collins, but that's my favorite song. Um,
So what was the sort of like lockdown like favorite villain song? Like what would you lock in for
favorite
that?
villain song. I have a look at Disney films here that we've talked about. I mean, there are some good ones. I think it has to be favorite villain song. That's such a good. It's a,
Because you have Scars in The Lion King, and then you have
I
Poor
think
Unfortunate Souls in Little Mermaid.
I think the Little Mermaid one was good. Yeah, I'll go for that. I'll go for Poor Unfortunate Souls in Little Mermaid. It's fantastic. And then I think for what was the final question again? Favorite character.
Least favorite
Um.
film as well.
Oh, least favorite film. Oh, Aristocats. I think.
Oh yeah, you hate the Aristocats, you hate the Rescuers.
Yeah,
What do you think of like Oliver and Company? Because I feel like that's worse than the
yeah, Oliver and
Aristocats.
Company's. Yeah, I kind of forget that one as well. God damn it. Like maybe looking back, the Black Cauldron and stuff maybe weren't wasn't that good. Those kind of films.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think.
I
It
think it's a bit of fun though. Like
it
where
is
I have
fun.
big
Yeah.
issues is where they're just joyless. Like
What's the
Winnie the
yeah?
Pooh is just this like this idiot who mooches off his friends and then wants a fucking medal.
Is there a film that surprised you the most?
I think Frozen was a massive surprise that I find it even tolerable because I was dreading watching it, because there was this like such this black cloud of negativity because of Let
Yeah.
It Go, and when you watch it in context, it's just a banger.
Yeah, no, it is. No, you're right. You're right. I think for me, the film that maybe surprised me the most, looking back, I mean, I think Aladdin, like I went into Aladdin and think it's
Hmm.
going to be so overrated, but Aladdin is just quality. It's so good. Hunchback of Notre Dame is also absolutely fantastic. I think there was one episode, buddy, where we did like Lion King, Aladdin, Hunchback, and something else, and that was like the banging episode. I think it was like episode
Hmm.
8. Unreal. Like that was peak Disney, I think, the 90s for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, Emperor's New Groove surprised me massively because it was so much worse than I thought it would be. Like it was so
Oh, I love
painfully
that one.
unfunny. Like my brother actually like we had a heated disagreement about it because it's his favorite film of all time, and I just thought it was insufferable. I mean, like not insufferable. Like it was just so painfully unfunny, and it was trying so hard. Like it was,
Yeah.
you could see the effort being made to make it funny, and it just fell flat every time. But Frozen, it's kind of weird that I had such this, this strong uh, opposition to the idea of enjoying it because it came out when we were 11, which is like we're like the ideal target audience at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. Like, I feels like out of most Disney films, like that one is sort of centered towards like the girl audience specifically. I don't
Mm,
know. It kind of feels like to me that's the audience there, but I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. Like, I think one film that really surprised me was Cinderella. It's fantastic.
mm,
It's really good. I mean that goes for most of that those sort of classics. Snow White. Although maybe not you know Cinderella quality. It's still fantastic. There's just so many good ones there, but like there with good there is bad. The package films we've just decided not to mention here. Of course, they're not great. But I mean overall, I think we conclude like there is some good, there's some bad. but for the very good ones, they're very good. For the bad, if they're bad, they're atrocious. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sort of
Pretty
that polar
much.
opposite. But yeah, any more remarks from you regarding Disney in general?
Nothing else from me other than thank God.
Thank God. Yeah, we've done it. We've done 15 episodes. Sorry, 15. Yeah, 15 Disney episodes. Starting at podcast episode 40, and then this will be our 84th podcast, I
I think
think.
we started in July or something.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
been
Oh, it was
7
June. I
months,
think it
man.
was
It's been
June or
like eight
July. Yeah,
months.
yeah. I know it's been a long
So,
time coming, but it's been fun. It has been nice to review some great quality films in there. So thank you very much, buddy, for suggesting this series. It was long, but it
thank
was
you.
worth it. I think for me, been a pleasure. Thanks for today as well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Please let us know what your favorite Disney film is down below. We'd love to hear them. And stay tuned on the channel for a new series coming up as well. And of course, our Riverdale recap and WandaVision recap for this week as well. So yeah, hope you guys are all well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well too. Take care, everyone, and bye bye.
Bye bye.